Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to another community live stream. My name is Chuck Tomasi, the ServiceNow guy with the cool bow tie, putting up Q on the bottom there so I remember what to say. This is October 29th, 2018, and this is the show where I bring you not only questions and answers from our community, but also the insights, the journey of discovery, the learning experience, whatever it takes to help you be a more productive administrator, developer on the ServiceNow platform, answer your questions, but also give you the thought process that goes into those answers. Well, let's get started with some of the pre-roll. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. If you find something helpful in the video in the next hour or so, be sure to mark it with that thumbs up. If you see it on the community, click the helpful link to let other people know that it is helpful. And if I'm doing my job right and YouTube is up to speed, we should also get, which I haven't seen yet, hit a little notification on your device that says, hey, the Now Community is live. Although YouTube does have some glitches from time to time. I've seen this come in 10 minutes past the hour. I've seen it come in never past the hour. Last Thursday we did our video and it said processing. Normally processing takes about an hour. So after I shut off the camera, about an hour later, it posts it to the community channel on YouTube. It took until 5 p.m. Friday. What is that, almost 36 hours later? I don't know what's up with YouTube lately, but it's getting a little crazy because I have a webhook that has a notification that it sends me. It says, all right, your video's posted. Let's get going. So YouTube's been a little crazy sometimes. No notification, but good to see you, Shane. Looks like the calendar is working. Some people put this on the calendar. Good morning, Carolyn. Good to see you again. Some people prefer to watch us on Twitch. You can do so over at twitch.tv/NowCommunity. Appreciate it either way. So thank you for joining me. If you've got a howdy, a hello, a welcome, where you're from in the world, the temperature, the weather, the seasons are changing. It's a wonderful time of year. Give me a shout out in the chat room like some of these people are doing. Good morning, Jim. Twitch notification seems pretty reliable. I'm going to have to set up the Twitch notification as well just to see if it's there. I don't know why I'm not getting that. I probably don't have a subscription, or I'm probably not even logged in. I might not even have the Twitch app on my mobile device. We'll find out about that. So thank you very much for joining. Give me a shout out on there. If you've got something more complex to ask about the ServiceNow platform, please put it in the community at community.servicenow.com. That way other people can search it, other people can find it. 4 years from now, 10 years from now, when somebody asks that question about sysids or dot blocking or whatever it is, you'll be able to find it by searching in the community. Not so easy in the YouTube or the Twitch streams because they're just, it hasn't evolved yet. Now, I do try to include the subject lines from the articles that I cover, from the questions that are asked, and put those into YouTube, put them in LinkedIn, put them in the community to help you navigate, but I don't know if they're part of the SEO package. So questions are better placed in the community, and if you are new to the community, be sure to follow some general guidelines that I've got right here. Post one question per post, put it in the right sub forum so that you get the correct audience for that. Be sure to include some context, what it is you're trying to do, the problem you're trying to solve. That sort of information will help the people who come along and try to provide answers to give you a better solution. If you simply say, hey, how do I dot walk from here to here? Someone may give you the answer, but it might not be the answer you need or the best answer for your problem because you haven't provided that context. If you help them understand what you're trying to do functionally, not technically, functionally, then you'll be likely get a better answer. If it's some drawn out question like, can somebody help build me an integration with Full Sail? You're asking for free professional services hours at that point, and that might go beyond the scope of the community. Somebody may be able to do it. I'm not saying it's going to happen or not, but just be aware that the scope of the question you're asking could impact the ability for somebody to volunteer. That one's not even on the list. If you've been around the community for a while, then I encourage you to go to become an expert. Publish some of that content. Think about, have I seen this answer before? Would this answer make a good blog article? Can others gain value from this? by doing that. And just participate in there. If you're sort of somewhere in between, if you're asking questions, but you're still not sure if you can give an answer, start browsing around at the answer. That's what I do. I start browsing around questions and go, hey, is this something that maybe I can learn from? And then I subscribe. Maybe I can participate in, guide them to a question, guide them to an answer, maybe even just do a little searching for them in the community on Google. What's my capability there? That expands their information base, that expands my knowledge base, and together we all grow and learn. So I want to just check YouTube, see if that notification came up. It did indeed. There it is. Ta-da. So we've got that going for us this morning. Things are good. That is the expert session developer community, developer.servicenow.com. You can go over to the developer portal, get yourself a free, with capital letters, FREE, free personal developer instance at developer.servicenow.com. Start using the latest release, which is currently Kingston. You can use the back release, London. Thank you for catching me on that. The current release, which is London. The second release, which we refer to as N-1, is Kingston, and we even have back to Jakarta on that. You can also find all the scripting APIs over there. You can find the meetup information over there. There's blog articles over there that Dave and Andrew and Josh have written in the past. Andrew being our newest developer evangelist over at the developer portal. Looking forward to seeing more material from him as he comes out with that. I was on, Andrew and I had live coding happy hour. Let me see if I can find that page real quick. Wrong keyboard. Andrew and I had live coding happy hour, put the title away, on Friday, where we attempted being the operative keyword here, attempted to build an integration between YouTube and ServiceNow, and we spent most of the time with OAuth things. Turns out, if you watch that or you plan on watching that, I was barking up the wrong tree. I thought it was either the reporting API or the analytics API. Turns out the data API is really what I needed, and you can drive the data API off an API key. We don't even need OAuth. So in about an hour and a half, 2 hours on Saturday night, I sat down and said, something doesn't feel right here. There's got to be a better API, a little more Google searching, a little more reading of the documentation, and I found a better API that was easier to implement and does what I need and gives back accurate counts. I don't know if any of you watched that video, but the reporting and analytics APIs were giving us back numbers like 8,000 views when the number on the screen would say 12,000 or 14,000 views. And I went, why are these numbers different now? The data API actually gives us what's on the screen, which I trust, which is good for consistency. And now I can start pulling together some reports and analytics around that. So that was implemented, and I can tell if things are getting better, more viewers, less viewers, do a little information gathering. Carolyn's going to watch Live Coding Happy Hour next. Well, now you know it's not going to be a successful mission. It's a lot of frustration and kicking the tires and learning more about OAuth. But that's half the fun of that. If you want, watch it at double speed. It might help. Not saying one way or the other whether it does or not. As far as meetups go, I mentioned meetups as part of the developer portal. We do have some upcoming meetups, developer meetups in your area. If they're not in your area, reach out to us and let us know. Someone from Singapore reached out and said, hey, I'd like to start a developer meetup in Singapore. Awesome. I thought we already had one, but according to meetup.com, we do not. But I will be at the DC meetup. I will be at the Tampa Bay meetup, which is coming up December 5th, according to my calendar. And I don't know why I don't have it on here, probably because it's not officially on meetup.com, but we'll get it on there this week, and then I'll start socializing that. So hope to see some of you next week in DC if you happen to be in that area. Looking forward to meeting a lot of our federal customers at Now Summit DC, and then in New York the following week. So this is going to be a busy week trying to play pre-catch up before I go on the road again. And just when I thought jet lag was over. Not so much. Oh, let's see. From meetups, we go to other events. If you want to know about other events like Now Forum, Now Summits, developer meetups. Actually, developer meetups probably not going to be on there, but lots of other webinars, events, trade shows. I will also be at AWS reInvent. I think I mentioned that the week after Thanksgiving. Yes, you can find out more about that at our events.html page, servicenow.com. events.html. We also have another Tech Now coming up on the 14th. November 14th, we'll be talking about Virtual Agent. Had a quick rundown of the content with Stacey Bailey, who's going to be our primary presenter. And this is some good stuff. She's done a lot of homework. We've got a lot of best practices and guidelines for you to follow that, frankly, I hadn't heard about before. But she started putting this section together about what are some things you should watch out for, things we've learned, things to implement a virtual agent conversation. Virtual agent is a chatbot on ServiceNow that allows you to address high volume, low complexity issues so that the agents aren't bogged down with, can you get me this PDF? Or you can actually put some of these right into a chatbot conversation and have them resolved. If they can't be resolved, you can turn them over to a live agent. I'll get more to that. Register at the link below. We'd like to see you there. This is going to be a good one. Virtual agent. It's also going to be Stacey's first official time at center stage. She did help out quite a bit on the last one last week. So looking forward to more of what she brings to the table. Craig will also be there as well. He's going to be our silent Q&A person in the background. Maybe some colorful commentary. We'll have to see. Carolyn says, wish I could go to D.C. so close. I don't know. It's work related. You can make it. How close is close? Are you in the Virginia area somewhere? Let's see. We did the workshop Knowledge. Knowledge is coming up. Don't forget. You may think, wow, it's not too soon. It is now about 6 months away. And then you go, well, 6 months, that's as far away from the last one as we are to the next one. Actually, it's time to start planning for budgets. If you haven't planned for budgets yet, you might be a little bit behind because it's practically November and 2019 is right around the corner. So put a number down for Knowledge 19. May 5th through 9th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Same place was last year at the Venetian Palazzo complex? I forget which one the actual conference center is in. But lots of learning experience, hands-on labs, networking. Great time. We've got pre-conference training again this year. We've got CreatorCon. We've got a new section going into the expo hall that I am partially responsible for, at least guiding somewhat. The builder space. This is for people who don't consider themselves developers, but they are developing solutions anyway with Excel spreadsheets and Access databases. We want to show them the art of the possible, give them imagination, and figure out, this is still very ethereal, batting around ideas. We haven't ordered any pieces, parts, or anything, but we've got a new builder space. So when you walk in and you've got all the vendor booths, and you've got the centerpiece for the ServiceNow booth, the main pavilion, before you get to the area for CreatorCon with all the IoT stuff and last year was Mission to Mars, this year's going to be something different. There's going to be a space in between. So you're going to transition from almost the commercial space to the no-code space to the pro-code space. That's sort of how we want to lay it out. Delaware is 2 hours away. Oh, yeah, that is a bit far. Although I have seen people drive a couple of hours for a developer meetup. Actually, they drive a couple of hours in the San Francisco Bay Area, just going 15 miles. Sorry, I do have a drum roll in here somewhere. Where is it? There. And I can fly from Arizona to our office and be there before they are. Good morning, Raul. Good morning, Andrew. Andrew, I did figure out the live coding happy hour thing. All right, back to where we were. Back to the Customer Success Center. If you haven't looked around the Customer Success Center, I encourage you to do so. ServiceNow.com/success will get you there. Wherever you are on your ServiceNow journey, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been around for quite some time and you've got lots of configuration, lots of customizations, I encourage you to go over here and take a look. The content is changing, so if you haven't been there in a while, I suggest you look again. We are looking at doing some additional revisions in the upcoming weeks and months. So keep going back and poke around. That's the whole idea of a website, is to keep content fresh so people come back, right? Any code that I write on ServiceNow will be placed in a GitHub folder at the URL you see there. Over on my GitHub repository, you can find that so that you don't have to squint at the screen and try and figure out what Chuck said. Maybe your bandwidth isn't good, maybe my bandwidth isn't good, whatever, and you can't see curly braces from semicolons from full colons to whatever, you can just copy and paste the code. I will post that almost immediately. I'm not going to say immediately, but almost immediately following shutting off the cameras today. So look for a folder there if there is in fact code. If there isn't a folder, there wasn't any code that day. So with that, let's get into the portion of the show where I actually do some community work. I'm going to do a quick refresh of the screen and get going. Let's look at some unreplied things. See what's coming in the last few minutes, few hours. Looks like from the user group in Brazil, I'm not going to be able to read my Portuguese there. How to access sys user group in a scheduled job script. Well, we can take a look at that. Posted 8 minutes ago. Let's see what's happened. I'm trying to create a scheduled job with a script that is accessing sys user group table. This is not working because SNC role util function is failing. I believe it is because the job is not a user. Is there any way around this or suggestions on how it can be done? I'm trying to get the manager for each assignment group. We have to send them each report on the group's tickets that have not been updated. Can you, I don't recognize what SNC role util is doing. I don't recognize SNC role util or why it may be interfering. So my first question is, can you share the script you are trying to run? I'm going to make that just a little bigger. It might be too big. Let's find out. Can you share the script you're trying to run at the moment? That would help us to recreate it, see if we can reproduce it. Because if we go to a scheduled job, let me go to my personal developer instance that I got free from developer.servicenow.com. That bell was for two things, one for finishing the answer and one for advertising the developer portal. So I will go to scheduled job. Let's put this into the CLS. We'll go to Studio real quick. I'm going to build a scheduled job. CLS being my community live stream app that I seem to dump everything and anything into. And create new applications, server development, scheduled script execution right there. And I will call this Get Manager. Wait for the form to finish loading. Slow browser, take a drink. Haven't done that in a while, but it's always fun. Get Manager. Let's see what we can do just to run this through. I'm going to do var group gr equals new glide record. Sys user group. That is the table name of the group table. If you haven't seen that before, I'd be amazed. But underneath user administration, I've got groups. That is this table. If you didn't know the table before, you could always hover over this. This was Craig's quick tip on the latest Tech Now video. And you can see down in the browser window, I don't know if you can see it on that screen, but it'll say the URL https:// my instance name.servicenow.com/ and then it says sys under user under group.do. That is the table. I could always do this as well. Configure table or configure dictionary. If I go to configure table, it will tell me what is the table name, sys user group. And if I don't feel like typing it or I think I'm a bad typist and might make mistakes, I could always copy and paste it in there. So once I instantiate a glide record object, I can, let's just get all of them. In fact, let's get them in an order. Group gr.add query. Oops, not add query. Let's do order by. Order by name. Just so they're sorted alphabetically when I see them. Otherwise, it might be in some random order in which they were inserted into the database by syseddy. I really don't know. And most of the time, I really don't care. Group gr.query. Let's get that. That says, okay, do all the setup that I've done and send it off to the database for the query. And it will return a list of records. And I'm going to do group gr.next to iterate through them. And for this sake, I'm just going to say gs.info, since I am in a scoped application. gs.print won't work, nor will gs.log. If you're using gs.print and gs.log, I encourage you to get in the habit of using gs.debug debug, info, warn, and error. Those are available to both global and scoped applications, so that when you start writing scoped applications, you're not caught by, oh, I'm in the habit of running gs.log. Don't need to worry about it. You can also set properties on your scoped application to control which of these outputs do you want to display in the log. You can do an output level with a property. So I'll cover that another time. Let's just output gr group gr dot name or display value. That would even be more fun. Get display value. Not name. Let's get value. There we are. So I don't know what their script looks like, but if I were going to be getting groups and managers and whatnot, oh, sorry, itchy nose. Like the cats are getting it to me again. It would look something like this. And if I want to test that real quickly, just to make sure that it's going to do what I want, go to my favorites, scripts background, paste that in, and see if it runs, and I get a bunch of those. Okay, if I go to Studio and say execute now, it executed something. And where am I going to find that? Probably in the system logs all. There they are. There's my scripts background run, and you'll notice they're a bit out of order. They did not come in alphabetic order in the log because the log file doesn't know more resolution than 1 second. These all came in at the same time. So the log is going, I'll try. It's however they got thrown into the log. You'd think they'd come out alphabetically, but they don't. So let's see what comes back on that. We'll keep an eye on that conversation and go back here, do another quick refresh since maybe something came in while I was talking, maybe not. Maybe a reply came in, who knows. Go to the unreplied, and I think I saw something calendar duration updated on form, but not list view and value not shown in XML. Fascinating. Let's see what we can find out. Maybe there's some screenshots. Screenshots are always helpful if you're posting to the community. Always a good idea, very helpful. Custom table called UOutage, that extending task table. This was a custom table created some time back to track outages. The UOutage calendar, .calendar.duration is calculated value on the task table based on the work start and work end values. There are client scripts that update the calendar duration based on client script. Interesting. Based on change of work start and work end date. The values are calculated correctly on the form based on the client script and saved when updated. However, the same duration is not shown on the list view of outages. State or active of the outage. Whew, this is getting a little deep for my brain to digest at this hour of the day. Also on the form, 5 attachments. You know what? I'm going to try and come back to that one. I don't know that I can handle that one on the air. Add days to scheduled entry and date time. Got to be respect to the viewer too. Hi everyone, I have a script on play. This is totally unscripted, by the way. So I'm taking what I can find, and sometimes I skip over articles, and it's not because I'm not interested. In that one I was genuinely interested, but it would take some time for me to unravel what's going on, review the attachments, and I'd be sitting here for 10 minutes while nothing happened. And I want to make sure that you're getting value out of watching this video. Hi everyone, I have a script on planned start date where I need to check whether that falls under holidays/weekends, and if so, I need to auto-populate the next working day. Okay, so we have, are you using schedules? Are you doing a glide schedule? They're getting vSchedule from, there's the name, vUser schedule. vSchedule is CMN schedule. They add the encoded name equals. Probably could have done that without an encoded query, but that's okay. If they get the schedule by name, you could probably just do a get actually. Then they get the schedule from vSchedule. You see, I haven't looked at the schedule APIs in a long time. So let's go over to the developer portal and look for glide schedule. What does it take as an argument? Constructor, string sysid, string time zone. Okay, looks like they're using it right, but it's got 2 arguments. Is there a single argument version? I don't see one. Glide schedule. Nope. Okay. So they're providing the sys-ID, but they're not providing the time zone. Don't know what's going to happen. Then they instantiate a new glide date time. Set the display value of the date time based on d.start date. This is where dates and times get really interesting. If it's in schedule, then do nothing. Otherwise, selected plan date is not a business day. So the question is, they're doing U.S. holidays. Are they hitting any of these? I would start throwing in some debug statements. Has anybody responded to this yet? No. Let's take this script and make sure I have one called bring up Visual Studio Code. This should be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to have the data to support this. So D is right now. Then they're setting the display date on current. Where is this being used? A business rule, perhaps? Okay. And they were using what? Current.start date. So it implies it's extended from task. Okay, let's go to Studio real quick. Do I have a table that extends task? Not right now. So let's make one. Table, and we'll call this, I don't know. This is where I run out of imagination when I have to make table names and field names and variable names on the fly. Let's call this Chuck, just because I have absolutely no imagination. Extends the task table, and we'll just submit that. And they were using the start date, right? Start date, yes. Well, Studio happily churns away on that. I have my start date. I should have my truck table in here in the CLS. And I don't have a start date on the form, so let's put one on real fast. Configure form layout. Up comes form layout, and it's actually called actual start now. Save that over in the first column. And there's my actual start. Oh, that is work start. Is there a start date? Let's take a look. Configure dictionary. I don't remember a date called start date. Maybe I have to create one. It's a scoped app. I can do that. Let's take a look at dictionary entries where this is task and this is start date. I don't think that's an actual field on task. Okay, so I probably didn't do myself any favors by extending the task table. That's okay. We'll get by. Bless me. Start date. And that is going to be a date time field. We'll put that on the field instead. I don't think that's actually going to put it on the field or put it on the form. Oh, it did. Okay, sometimes dictionary entries do. Sometimes you gotta go through form layout. Let's configure the form layout a little bit better to get rid of the one that we don't need. Actual start. Put in the start date. Then, step 2 is we need to make sure we have a glide schedule. So CMN schedule is where they were getting the schedule from. I did this a couple times several years ago. Started messing around with the schedules and the calendars and all that good stuff in here. So there is a U.S. holidays. Did they spell it right? That's the next question. And in there I have Christmas Day repeats every year on December 25th. Da, 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 da. So theoretically, I should be able to pick one of these dates. Let's take their script and you know what? I'm simply going to make a new file, paste that in. Ouch. The indentation is off, which kind of hurts my brain. So fix that real fast. So we can tear this apart. Also, the curly brace style is off for my taste. I'm a KNR guy. That's because I grew up programming in the 80s. And is there an if within this if? It is. Okay. That's why we do indentation, so I can actually see what's going on in here. That's that, not that, and our indentation should be good. Save this so that I can see it in a bit. Go to Google Drive, live stream, not that live stream folder, Google Drive, NOWCommunity. That one, new folder, 2018, 10-29. We will call this holidayschedule.js. So if you're looking for it on the live stream repo, you can find it. And now we get nice, cool, colorful stuff. Let me take that. Mine is actually called u.s.holidays. Although for consistency, if I want to return this back to their script, let's just change that. So to change that, I got to go to global. That way, for consistency, mine matches theirs. U.S. holidays, update. And I want to see, if I go to scripts background and go to my editor, copy this out, paste it into scripts background, what do I get? Okay, it doesn't define what current is, so I need to define that first. So let me put in here, I'm going to put in a little bit of stuff just for testing purposes. Var, come on, var current equals, this is what I call a faux current. I can use this to impersonate stuff that happens in a business rule or UI action. Current equals new glide record, whatever my table name was. And my table name was over here, the CLS Chuck table. Oop, paste that there, just like we did before. Current.get, and I have to make a record in the table. Let's get rid of that. Back to my current Chuck record. Chuck new record. We'll take task 2085, put a start date. Let's put a start date that is on a holiday. Let's see if we can get it to trigger. So December 25th, we know that it triggered every day. Now I can start putting debug statements in here. Oh, I need the sys ID of that record. Copy sys ID. This is going to be my current record. This record right here is my current record in this, as far as this script is concerned. Paste in the sys ID. Now, it's got that record, so when it encounters it down here as current.startDate, it will understand what it means. So let's pick that up and throw that into scripts background to see if it can detect that is, in fact, okay. It did something and it says script undefined. Selected plan date is not a business day. Isn't that what the message should say? Selected plan date and then says undefined. So schedule.startDateTime.getDisplayValue is wrong. This is evaluating correctly, but this is not working. This is coming back with an undefined value. Let's change the date and see if it does the same thing. So back to my record, and I don't think December 5th is any kind of special holiday or a weekend or anything else. Put that in there, scripts background, paste, run. Schedule plan date is not a business day. It's failing. So we need to start debugging this thing. Let's make sure it did a vSchedule next. So just for fun, let's do gs.info vSchedule.getDisplayValue. Let's just print out the name, hopefully, of what the schedule is. And then they do a new glide schedule. Let's also set the display. Let's do gs.info d equals, let's see if d is the date we want. D is d.getDisplayValue. So So let's print out the display value of the date, and this is the part that's giving us some grief. Is in schedule actually a method of glide schedule? I did not check that. So back to glide schedule. Is in schedule, we give it a glide date time. Do we have a code snippet here? We do. And they're following this almost exactly. Type blackout, glide schedule, GSSID. So they started with this code snippet, almost certainly. And they need to set the display value to that. So let's find out what the display value is of that. And also, just for giggles, because dates and times are so fun, let's also make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. Start date is this, and we'll print start date dot get display value. And then put in here gs.info. This is in schedule. I know I just switched to double quotes, and I don't know why. I think that was just a digit error on my finger parts. So back to scripts background. Let's see what we're looking at for data in this thing. And it says, I have no idea what you're talking about, because it should be current.startDate. The more mistakes you make, the faster you get at debugging them, theoretically. Okay, US holidays, that's the correct record out of CMN schedule. D is 1332. This is 632. So we've got a time zone offset issue here. The display values don't align. What we may want to do is, instead of set display value, is do a set value. Let's see if that affects it and aligns those two dates. Now we have 632 and 632. So we're working with the same value now. But it still says selected planned date is not a business day. So is in schedule keeps returning a false. But this has me worried too. Sketch.get display start date time. If I look at CMN schedule, where I was, we have our US holidays and the related list entries in there. If I look at, say, Christmas Day, this comes from the CMN schedule span table, which is really what that method is doing, is it's going through here and looking. 2012 end date, and it repeats every, so it doesn't matter. Should show schedule. Thought this brings up a calendar. I will just make sure that I didn't arbitrarily pick the wrong, November, December 5th is not any kind of holiday, but the 24th and 25th are. Why is in schedule failing? Why is it failing? If we go to glide schedule, let's try this. Blackout 2017. Does the out-of-box example produce a reasonable result? This is not in schedule. Okay. Let's change that to, you can tell that's a really old example, probably came from the wiki. Let's go 2018, today. Something suspicious about this. Are we in a blackout schedule? Let's go find a schedule of type blackout. So scripts background, where are we going? CMN schedule, schedules, type, blackout, show matching. Blackout Wednesdays, software blackout. So they're looking at one specific, the US holidays. We're looking for anything that is of type blackout in this example. And weekends, all day false, repeat on Wednesday. If I were to look at this, I only have to worry about it on Wednesdays. So I have software blackout and blackout Wednesdays. Seems redundant, but okay. Let's look at the calendar for this one. It only applies to the CMDB-CI table, so I don't even have to worry about that. And still shouldn't be a problem. I'm thinking the in-schedule API may have an issue with it that nobody's addressed because I can't get it to work reliably. Interesting. Anybody else see anything that I missed? Because is in schedule is not I can't get it to return a true. Even with the out-of-box example, I can't get it to return a true. So that's my beef right now. And I am going to see if anybody's responded to that yet. I'm going to simply put a comment down there. I know it chewed up a lot of time, but after looking at your script and replicating, let's get that up a little higher on the screen, some data to prove an open schedule window, I was unable to get is in schedule to return a true result. Even if I use the out-of-box example on the developer page, in fact, let's go get that, paste that in, because that's what a good article does. On the developer page, I could not get it to ever return a true. Not sure why, but it feels like a bug. Haven't done this one in a while. I recommend reaching out to customer support. I'll be interested to hear what they have to say. If you get an incident or PRB, share it with others, and here's how to contact them. Does that link still work? That link still works. Okay. Darn. That was a lot of time spent on one thing that didn't go very far. So, still an answer. Sometimes it's encouraging to know someone else is having the same problem and you're not crazy. Let's do another one just because it's so much fun. You know what? I've got two things in the inbox. Let's see if conversations are moving along without me. So over to the inbox. How to access this user group in a scheduled job script. This is the one where I asked for a potential script. It's not my script, but the read ACL for sys user group, I found this in the documentation. Note, the sys user group read ACL calls S&C role util function. The function checks whether the group being selected contains either the admin or security admin role. The function allows the user to view the group only if the user has the same role. As a result, an ITIL user cannot assign an incident to the group, to that group that has an admin role or security admin role, or whose parent has the role. Am I missing something? Under groups, is there a field that specifies that role? Parent, user, right, role, no. Okay, I'm missing something. But scheduled jobs run as, this is the script in the read ACL for the sys user group. A group role, current.sysid admin. Okay, it's not my script. Okay, so where is the script being used? You mentioned you wanted to send reports to everyone. Is the report being run as a specific user or a system? If this is a scheduled job, is that being run as a specific user or as system? Let's find that out. It almost sounds like it's trying to do a glide record secure kind of thing, but I did not know that we had this role-based group lookup thing going on. That's news to me, but that's how we learn. How to pass catalog item variable in PowerShell script in workflow. I thought this was a thing from last week. Yeah, because somebody put up, they had a picture in here from their activity designer that they were putting in current.variables.cmd. And Mike Patel said, no, it's got to be dollar curly brace notation for that. And down here, you can pass something like below. So the discussion is still going on. Apologize. That's a thread from last week around that. And I didn't know the answer immediately. Should have, because I have done custom activities in orchestration, but just didn't recognize it. Good afternoon, Harry. Good to see you. He says afternoon, assuming somewhere in EMEA. Are templates usable in ServiceNow Mobile? Templates as in these kind of templates, where you have the template bar and you apply a template? That kind of template? I don't even know if I have my incidents has a template. I don't even know what templates I have on this. Let's see. I'll go into a template and see if my template bar has anything. Toggle template bar. I don't see it. You don't have any templates. Do you want to create a new one? Those kind of templates, is that what you're referring to? As far as I know, they're not available in mobile because I don't see a way to turn it on. But I'm perfectly... Somebody says, yes, watching live in central London. Okay, as far as I know, they're not available in London, but hey, I'm not above someone telling me I'm crazy and they found a way to do it. So there is that. Create a temporary incident number. Unique variable value. Let's look at this temporary incident number. What are they trying to do? Is it possible to create an empty incident number without triggering any rules via the REST API? You can use a temporary staging table to create the ticket via REST, and based on whatever conditions you want to implement, then you can translate it into the incident. I like that answer. Import sets are always a good way to do your importing into target tables. Rather than using the REST API directly against the target table and saying, insert this, update that, you could have invalid data that's trying to get into there. That might munge up your live data. You could use an import set, put it into the staging table, and that will trigger the transform and whatnot. You can scrub it, clean it, map it, do whatever you want with a typical import set. The REST API does have the ability to do that. I like that. And we'll mark that helpful without triggering any rules via the REST API. Be curious to know more about what they're trying to do. Is this coming in from a third-party application, and what's the reasoning for this? I agree with Anurag. See if I can spell his name right this time. Anurag's assessment. Import set API is always a good way, is always the best way. The best way to bring in data. I'm curious to know more about what you are doing and why. What's the need for the temporary number idea? Background, context, it helps. It really does. Also, quick question, are we still not able to add groups in VTBs? I haven't checked recently. Well, what do you say we find out? Let's do a little experimentation. And let's do a virtual task board by caller. And creates one of these underneath configuration. No, it wasn't configuration. It was this little icon for the users and groups. Close that, bring up that, add members, and can't do network. Okay, so it's not looking at groups and or users. Members, assignees, looks like it's still on groups. I mean, still on users. I don't see a way to change that. Lane field, share, view list, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't look like it. Morning, Chuck. Chad from Atlanta will be there for a Tech Now using Integration Hub and e-bonding where there's an Integration Hub between two instances. Will there be a Tech Now? Not in the foreseeable future. I've got them planned out to about next April, and I don't have anything on Integration Hub and e-bonding. Showing actual examples of the integration. Short answer to that, not on the calendar at this point, but it's not to say we won't ever do one on that. We'll have to reach out to Craig Stepp. He's the master of integrations, or orchestration, more specifically. But we're getting him over to Integration Hub. He does all the cloud management stuff for our conferences and has a lot of great experience. We need to get him off of orchestration, though, and get him more onto Integration Hub. He'll slowly see the light. He's gonna love me for that one. All right, anything we can do in the last 10 minutes? Let's see. I've got a couple of things still in the pipeline that I haven't mentioned. How to know how many users are logged into ServiceNow. That one has 5 replies. I'd like to see that because there are a number of ways I can think of. Hi, all. I've been asked by my team to want to know how many times any user has logged into ServiceNow. That's how many user. That's different than what the description leads. But out of the box, I don't find anything to fetch the same output. Is there one field I go to as last login time, but it won't work for me? So this one says, hi, registered users, configuration, CI lifecycle management, CI state registered users. Not sure exactly what they're showing. Open problems. That screenshot doesn't. There's an out-of-box module called logged in users. Yes. Navigate to user administration. Logged in users. The best approach for you to find out why last login time field is not working for you. It's out of the box and best suited. Can help report on what you want. The description leads me to believe logged in users. This says something else to me. Okay. I agree with Anurag that if there's a problem with the last logged in users, that needs investigation. That should be looked into. Why isn't that working? Maybe contact support, find out if there's a deeper issue. If you've got a business rule or an installation exit that's interfering with that, that might be a reason to take a look at that. They want to know how many times a user has logged in. That's a different requirement than what I'm reading. That would say Chuck has logged into this thing 13,516 times, and Anurag has logged in maybe 12 times. Okay, that would be some sort of incremental counter so that each time they do log in, you would need to increment that counter. That doesn't exist out of the box as far as I know. So I'm reading 2 different things in this, and I'm going to post that. Okay, I'm reading 2 different requirements from your description, from your subject and content. Are you looking for a count of how many times a user logged in, or are you looking for the number of current users logged into the system? I want to know what the underlying requirement is before I start answering this, because people have given some answers and I'm confused. But that's not unusual that I'm confused and answers go out, and the answers may be right. They may even be marked correct before I even get back to, hey, what were we trying to solve here? All right, looking at my notes from before, I have a question from Leandre. Can you help me with dot walking in client scripts? Short answer to this is dot walking is not available in client scripts because client scripts work on the browser. Dot walking works because it has access to the database. Example of dot walking, let me get into this. I'll show you real quick, is my favorite table, incident.list. It works on any reference field because the reference field points to a record in another table. So here I have the caller ID field. And caller ID, if I right-click on the label and say show, it says the caller ID field is a reference to sysuser. And dot walking is a term we use for getting related information to other related information. If I want, say, Fred Luddy's department manager, I can click into the Fred Luddy record, and this is effectively what dot walking does in a script. I could say current.caller.ID.department.manager. The department head is Fred Luddy, so it would be the department head, not the department manager. Or I could get the location manager, or whatever information I need from a table that is 2 or 3 tables away, 2 or 3 relationships. That's what we call dot walking. Very, very handy, very powerful. Works great on server-side scripts because the server has access to the database. That's the important key. Client scripts do not. When a client script is constructed, it's put together with all of the JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and sent to your browser and says, here, figure this out. And the browser displays it, but you don't have ready access to additional information. There's no dot walking because when I send the caller ID, I give it the sys and the display value. It knows Fred Luddy and it knows the value and it puts that into the field and displays it on the form, and it's all wonderful. But you can't drill through that on the client script because the client script doesn't have any awareness of what the other information on Fred Luddy's record is. It doesn't know Fred Luddy's phone number. It doesn't know Fred Luddy's department. So it can't get the department head of the department if it doesn't have the department record, which it's not going to get. Otherwise, you could potentially be sending lots and lots and lots of database information to the client, which would slow down the form, it would slow down the rendering, it would slow down lists like crazy. So the client script doesn't have the ability to do dot walking because it doesn't have access directly to the database. You could put in some sort of reactive form, reactive icon, whatever you want to think of it as, to react to an on-click event. That gets into a little bit of custom scripting. Might want to recommend taking a look at Service Portal to make that a little easier, a little better to maintain. Not going to go deep into that right now, but you need some way to say, if I click this, tell me about that, which sends a message back to the server saying, I need additional information. What is Fred Luddy's department? So that I can say, what is Fred Luddy's department head? All right, so that's sort of the long and short about that. In short, client scripts don't do dot walking, and that's why, because they don't have the information. There's also another conversation that came up in my inbox this morning about SLAs versus OLAs. And this is a very old discussion, which has been talked about a few times, but I must make sure I show all replies. Somebody asked something recently on this, see if I can find it. 2 years ago, 4 days ago. I understand the ServiceNow system's point of view. It's just a tag. The OLA, SLA, and underpinning contract. When you look at an SLA definition. So let's go to service level, service love, SLA definitions. And this type field really has no bearing on the execution of, at least to the last I heard, and this is getting a little old, I haven't done these in a while, but this type field is SLA, OLA, and underpinning contract. Come on, form, finish loading for me. Thank you. It's just a label. It's just a tag. You don't have to set it to anything. It's an identifier per ITIL standards. Again, at least as the way I remember them when I was trained on my ITIL stuff. An SLA is something within your department. So it's IT to IT. It's actually within my group, you could even say. So if IT is working on it and says the networking team needs to do it, it's an SLA. If I send it to somebody else within my company, it's just sort of an expanding concentric circles of control. SLA is what I can control. It's in my group. OLA is I'm sending it to another person. It's an service level agreement. Operating level agreement is the label, if I remember. Again, rusty information, so I could be off by a word or two here. Hopefully they're not keywords. And if I just send it to legal, for example, well, it's outside of IT's control. Legal has it. I can identify this as this has been breached, but it wasn't our team. So if I can glance at it and say, what are the OLAs that were breached and how can we work with those other teams, then I can have that discussion. If it's an underpinning contract, it's outside of my organization entirely. Maybe I'm sending something off to Verizon for where I expect a 3-day service agreement with them. I would label this as an underpinning contract, and I can check my vendor management at that point whether my underpinning contracts have been breached or not. So SLA, OLA, underpinning contract. Think of it that way. So they were saying, and we've run up against the top of the hour, so let me finish out with this one. But from a functional/commercial standpoint, I would usually associate SLA with an agreement to the end customer and the ULA/UC with the back-end service providers, internal or external. Pretty close. I mean, I'm not, the SLA is between the end user customer and whoever is providing that service. For instance, if I have made a statement that my organization will fix some priority 2 incident in 8 hours, I could, behind the scenes, have an OLA or UCs with my service lines where they agreed to solve priority 2 in 4 hours. Therefore, if one service line fails to solve, it's an OLA, and there's still, there's still time for the second tier to deal with it, and also to meet the SLA agreements. Before I go any further, it's completely up to you how you want to use and drive these. I'm going by what the definition is of the standard ITIL processes and how they implement these labels. You have the freedom, in this case, to define and use them any way you want. As long as you're consistent, I got no problem with it. ServiceNow is not going to go in there and say you're using your underpinning contracts incorrectly or you're using your SLAs inappropriately, but make sure that everybody in your organization agrees that's how these are going to be used. ITIL is a framework. They give you a set of guidelines to follow, best practices for the industry. They don't say you must follow these or die. That's not going to happen. So I'm going to leave it on that note. I appreciate everybody joining. If you found something helpful, make sure to click like on YouTube. Make sure to click the helpful link in the community. And I look forward to seeing you again here tomorrow. Take care, learn something, share something, be helpful. Till tomorrow, bye.